signs critical. Hostile supply convoy nearby.
That's right. We've got a casualty.
Right? You know what?
Give me the pass. Lay down cover fire. Who's falling? Woo!
Hostile supply convoy. Immediate medical assistance needed.
Hold on a second.
Incoming hostiles detected.
What the hell is this? Fuck! What? You need to move! Not so smart now!
Detecting additional hostile contacts.
Engaging from the flank!
Heavily armed. Hostile supply convoy nearby.
I got you! We gotta destroy that thing! Stay the fucking quiet!
Get off me! Here! I'm here for you.
Get out, Agent!
Got me! Done, asshole! Nice shooting! That cover will help us right now. Come and get it!
Let's see you run.
Vital signs critical.
Hit that tree, son!
Detected hostile supply convoy.
Come and get me!
Hey everyone, RogueGold here, and welcome back to another build video. So, I teased this build a few days ago in my last one called the Rhino that I did, which was more of a PvP focused build, but today I want to give you guys something that's a little bit different. I said there in that last video that this isn't going to be necessarily the best build out there, alright? I'm not claiming that this is anything meta or anything that's going to necessarily compete with some of the best builds that are out there to use on different types of content. What this is it's a run and gun skill build. It's, you know, something that you wouldn't usually think of or something you might not put together initially. But I've set this up and you saw that opening clip and it's actually pretty fun and it works pretty well on, you know, I was doing a heroic control point there and it works well on that type of content. It's, you know, it's just a fun build. That's really what it is. It's not meant to be competitive. It's not meant to outperform other stuff, but it's meant to allow you to play in a different way than you may have ever done before, and I think it lets you do it pretty effectively and in a pretty fun way. It uses some stuff like the Memento backpack, which both gives you some survivability, a lot of efficiency for your skills, as well as damage. As you can see in that opening clip, the capacitor is still doing a lot of damage, and that's kind of what culminates this build into being something where you can be a run and gun style of gameplay and use a lot of your skills for damage. So it's pretty fun. So I hope you enjoy. I'll reiterate one more time that, you know, this is not meant to be the best build out there. You don't have to leave a comment telling me that some other variation would be better for whatever, because this is just, you know, it's meant to allow you to play in a different way. And so I think it really achieves that, and hopefully you guys can appreciate that. And if you want to try it out, have some fun with it too. So without further ado, let's get into it. And so here is the build. It's using a lot of the new pieces from the new brand set, the Empress International that came with TU12 in Season 4, and what that's allowing us to do, along with the Memento backpack that you can see there, is get a lot of skill efficiency, which is that new stat that's basically the equivalent of weapon handling for skills, and that really buffs up our skills and allows them to do a lot of the work, while we also benefit from some damage for the AR and have some survivability. It's really great. It's a lot of fun. So let's get into what we have here. For the gun, I have the capacitor. You've probably seen it a lot by now. It is the new exotic AR that you can get in the summit from completing 5 challenges in 1 ascent. Correction from my other video where I pointed this gun out is that you do not have to complete the summit in order to get this. You just have to do 5 challenges and it awards it to you on the spot. So you can get this pretty easily, probably within, you know, 20-30 minutes of jumping in there. It's really easy to get and it's a very nice gun. If you don't know what it does, it's basically like Striker for skills. Basically, the more bullets you shoot into enemies and the more you keep your stacks up, you get skill damage for that up to 60%, which is obviously a lot. And then also for each skill tier you have, you gain 7.5% weapon damage. So at 5 skill tiers, I'm getting a lot of damage on this that puts it at 106,000 damage. And then compared to some other stuff like, you know, a regular Police M4 here that on a damage build would be a lot higher, it's only dealing 72k damage. So you can see the you know, big damage jump that you have with the capacitor because of that little bit there at the bottom of its talent. So it's really nice. And this is pretty centerpiece to what this build revolves around. Although if you did want to use the test subject AR or another, you know, gun that has in sync or perfectly in sync, that would work as well. But again, this is basically just a bit better of a version of that. So if you have a free exotic slot, you probably should use this just to get the most damage out of it possible. But again, if you want to use in sync, that works as well. For my secondary, I have a gun with Future Perfect, just a nice option if you want to buff up your skill tier to overcharge. This allows you to do that if you can remember to pull it out and get a kill with it. So yeah, it's a good one to have. You can really use something else if you want to, but it's nice to have the option to go overcharge and get that extra bit of damage on your skills if you need to. And then for my pistol, I just have an orbit, you know, whatever you want here. You could probably use, I don't even know what the technician gives, perfect spike, you know, you can use whatever you want here. Moving on to the gear, I have the first piece here of Empress International, and I'm using 3 total on the build, and in total, those give you, the first piece is 10% skill health, then 10% skill damage, and lastly, 10% skill efficiency. And if you don't know, I mentioned it a second ago, but skill efficiency is basically the equivalent of weapon handling for skills. It gives you, let's see if I can remember, 1% in skill damage, health, duration, repair skills, status effects, and that should be it. So it gives you a lot of benefits, and on something like this where we're using a drone, that's very useful because you're benefiting from the duration, from the health, and from the damage all in one. So it's really good. On this mask specifically, I have a skill tier, skill damage, crit chance, and a crit chance mod. I should, before I move on, quickly show you my crit stats on here because even though we're focusing heavily into skills, we're still getting 43.7% crit chance and 97.2% crit damage, which when paired with that pretty high base damage value on the capacitor because of its talent, results in some pretty good damage. So it's a good combination. So that's what I have on there. And so the main focus for this build is you want to get as much skill damage as possible on your rolls, as well as some crit to buff that up. So yeah, that's what you want to be going for overall. For my chest piece, I have one piece of Fenris to get the 10% AR damage from the brand bonus, obviously because the capacitor is an AR. On here we have weapon damage, headshot damage, which I would rather have to be crit, so if you can't get that, that would be more ideal. Skill damage, and then a crit chance mod with Spark. Now Spark is really nice because it's whenever you damage an enemy with a skill, like your drone or the other skill that you have, you gain 15% weapon damage, which is the equivalent of one god rolled, weapon damage core roll on your gear. So again, another way to buff up your damage, and another way that this build all synergizes to give you a lot of damage, a lot of skill damage, and a lot of survivability. So Spark is a really nice one there. If you wanted to use something like Unbreakable, or even Glass Can wouldn't really work for run and gun, but Unbreakable you could. Something like, what's that called? The Kinetic Momentum, you could use that too, but I like Spark, again, because I like the weapon to have a good amount of damage. That's kind of the whole, ethos of the build. So I like Spark on there, but, test around with some other stuff if you like. For my holster, second piece of Empress, one skill tier, skill damage, and crit damage on there. The backpack, like I said earlier, is the Memento. If you don't know, basically the Memento, whenever you kill an enemy, you get buffs to each of those core 3 parts of a build: damage, survivability, and skills. So when I'm at maximum stacks on here, when I have 30 of the trophies and I'm picking up one, I'm getting 25% skill efficiency for 10 seconds when I pick one up, and I can get a stack of up to 30% skill efficiency if I have maximum stacks. So 25, 30 plus the 10 from the brand would take you up to 65% skill efficiency, which is very powerful. And that's how your skills are going to deal this much damage when we're not, entirely speccing into it, even though we have a lot of skill damage everywhere else. It's just giving you that much more of a bonus, and it makes your skills super lethal. So that's really good. And on the Memento, I just have another crit chance mod. For the gloves, my third and final piece of Empress has skill tier, skill damage, and crit damage. And then my knee pads, I have one piece of Wyvern, which gives you the 10% skill damage as its first piece brand bonus. And on here, I have one armor roll, which I really like having the 2 armor rolls on this. I tried out with one, but for the run and gun style, one was just a bit too little for me. So I enjoy having a second armor roll, but if you want to go for a skill tier and get 6 skill tiers off the bat, you can. I just like this, and I would recommend trying it out if you want to, because again, with the Memento, you're getting an armor roll there, and then this one gives you 2. So on here, I then have health and skill damage. Obviously, I would rather have crit damage. It was a bit hard to get one on here because, obviously, Wyvern rolls with a skill tier every time you do one. So it's a little bit harder to get it right. But, yeah, skill damage is the more important stat than crit on here. So I'm glad I have that. And if you can get one that has armor, crit damage, and skill damage, that would be my ideal. Moving on to the skills, the main centerpiece skill, I would say, is the Striker Drone. This is the easiest way you're going to get Spark, and it's the one that benefits the most from the skill efficiency stat, which we are speccing into so heavily. On here, it's doing 65,000 damage outside of PvP. Obviously, this is not a PvP build, so 65,000 damage on a duration of 250 seconds, basically, which is very good, and it has almost 3 million health. My mods on here are just a duration mod and a damage mod, so pretty easy. I don't think I have one that's applicable here. I do not. So those are my 2 mods, and yeah, it works really well. You saw in the clip it has a lot of damage when it's off doing its own thing, and especially when you're, shooting a target that it's shooting already with your capacitor that's buffed up so heavily, you're going to put someone down very quickly. So it's really nice. For your secondary skill, this one's really up to you. I really, the idea that I had in my head when I first set out to make this build was that I wanted to incorporate the oxidizer somehow, because the oxidizer, if you think about it, it's a pretty, little used skill. Not a lot of people use it because it's honestly not that good, but I feel like what I've done here with it, it performs pretty well. You can see in that opening clip that I shoot it at a spawn door where people are coming out of. I shoot it where some people are clustered up when I hit a riot foam backpack on a guy, and it does a decent amount of tick damage. The whole idea here is that if you can hit someone with your gun, with the oxidizer, and with the drone, they don't stand a chance. They're going to go down, especially on things like heavies. It eats through their armor, the robot dogs with the black tusk. It's pretty handy, and I think what the build has been able to achieve with the amount of skill damage you get, it turns out to be a pretty handy skill. So on here, I just have a damage and an ammo mod, and total, you can see on the stat sheet there, it's coming out to 157,000 cloud damage per second at a duration of 13 seconds. Now, the only thing that is a bit of a bummer here is that the oxidizer does damage yourself if you walk into it, kind of the same with the Firestarter mod. So that's annoying because it lasts for that 13 seconds. So if you kill an ad with it and then you want to collect the trophy, you can't really walk in it without damaging yourself. That's a bit annoying for sure. And if you wanted to use a different skill, you can. Like I said, the drone is really the main skill here, the one that's, gonna help you out the most, I would say. The oxidizer gives you a different kind of benefit with that area control, but if you wanted to use something like a sticky bomb, either the explosive or the fire, you certainly could. That would be a good option. But again, I just like using the oxidizer, and if you haven't given it a go, since launch, basically, like me, I would say try it out, because it can be pretty fun. But again, if you want to use something else, you certainly can. And then the final thing to note is that I am using the Technician Specialization, and this is 100% the one you're going to want to go for. It gives you the free skill tier, which is getting me up to 5 skill tiers total. And then, of course, you get the 10% skill damage node on there, which just helps out with the drone and the oxidizer. So 100%, I recommend Technician, and there's really no other alternative there. Definitely want to use this one for this build and its purposes. And that's the build, guys. That's going to do it for my little TU12 experimental run and gun skill build. I hope you guys liked it. It's I created just with the goal of having some fun and playing a different way, and I certainly achieved that. I've had fun using it, and it is a, new style of play that I've never tried before. So I hope you guys enjoyed it, and yeah, thanks for watching, everyone. Leave a like if you enjoyed this video, and be sure to subscribe with notifications on so you can be updated every time I upload. Let me know down in the comments what your thoughts are on this build. Is there any differences you would make to kind of further the playstyle or improve it a little bit? Again, I'm not trying to say it's the best build, you don't have to say that something would get more DPS or more damage. I'm just playing a different style, so if you think there's anything that would complement that better, then definitely let me know that. And yeah, let me know what your general thoughts are. I'm curious to hear what you have to say. But thanks again, everyone. Have a great day. And until the next one, guys, RogueGold out.